Tim Sheens is a super coach. In fact, in my opinion, he's one of rugby league's greatest ever innovators. His teams always played a style of football which attracted people to the game. The mighty Green Machine. Who could forget the 05 Tigers? But his greatest legacy could be his impact on the current game. Through all the elite coaches he's directly influenced. Today I'm catching up with Tim at West Tigers HQ, a club he's just returned to. Tim, good to see you again, mate. Long time no see.
Yes, mate. Yeah, mate.
Yeah. How's life and everything in England? You've been away a while.
Yeah. I've got my citizenship now, so I'm a POM. So I don't know whether that makes me popular or not.
Sheensy, coming into the Tigers, where the club is at, is it as expected? Is it a bigger job? Getting them where you want?
Well, Joey. Did I just call you Joey?
That's the end of the interview. Thanks, Royce.
Matty, if we'd have beaten Canberra the last game last year, where there were 5 teams behind us, there were 3 teams behind us and we still got ridicule. I don't think the team's far away from the semis. It's just that far away.
Tim, today I want to talk about your coaching career. So that's why I've allocated 3 hours. Right? But to start with, and we talk about this all the time, me and a few mates, it's that coaching tree. You know, you got a coach and, you know, the players they influence or coaches they influence and so on and so forth. So you got Warren Ryan, you got Gus and Chris Anderson, a few others. You got Jack Gibson, who influenced Wayne, a couple of John Money and those guys. But the Tim Sheens coaching tree, Craig Bellamy, Ricky Stewart, Mal Meninga, Kevin Walters, Michael Maguire, Todd Payton, Paul Green, David Ferner, Laurie Daly, Neil Henry. I probably missed a few. But then it's all the people that they've influenced. That must give you enormous pride.
Yeah, it's something I don't really think about, Matty. They're just mates. They're players that played with me. Some of them I gave coaching starts. Craig Bellamy, Dean Lance was in there as well. I'm pleased to see them all go on with it. I think they're all stupid, getting into the coaching business.
Yeah.
Which isn't a business that you can count on getting a very long service leave.
Well, let's talk about the Ducks, Craig Bellamy. So you coach Craig.
Yeah.
And you give him his first coaching gig in the NRL under 21s at Canberra in '95.
That's right.
Did you look at Craig and think this bloke's going to be a great coach one day?
No. No, I didn't. I always thought both boys would go into strength and conditioning and performance. And that's where Craig went when he went to Brisbane. Wayne had a program written for him and he ran it. Remember, there were no assistant coaches then. They were first grade, second grade and 23s. We didn't run, no one had professional, assistant coaches. So Craig went up to do that. And then, of course, Wayne, he started doing a little bit for Wayne and then gradually. But he didn't go up there to be an assistant coach. He went up there to run the program. He was in charge of performance. But with me, it was funny. I got a good story on him. He said to me, well, what do you want from me, Sheens, as a coach? And I said, well, 2 things for the kids. 1, fit, and 2, disciplined. That's it. So we're doing pre-season training and doing interval training, 400s and so on and so on. And so we'd finished first grade and he brought the 23s over and on a grass 400 metres athletic track. So he's running, and I think they had to run about 12, I think, anyway, at a certain time, forwards and backs, So no braking, right, no braking. You've been there, you know what I'm talking about. So they get through about 6, and they're really doing it hard, and then he goes for the 7th, I think 7th, it might have been even further in, and some fella half fell over the line. He started him again. So anyway, I walked away and went back to the office, and later on I said, called him in and said, Craig, thought you might have been a bit hard on the boy. He said, you said, and that's how he did it, you said fit and disciplined. Okay, walked away, and that was Craig, and that's been Craig ever since. And it was Craig as a person. He was always super fit, always disciplined in everything he did. And I missed the best of him because he was in the Raiders in the early days before I got there. But he was very keen when I give him a run in the 90 grand final. Still brags about it, that he got a run. He was out there in that one. the end of it.
You're a bit disappointed about 89. I spoke to him last week.
Yes.
Well, okay, yourself,
Yeah.
Tim, you long career at Penrith. You retire as a player in 82 and your first grade coach.
I was retired, mate.
Yeah, they retired you.
They retired me.
You take the Penrith away from that unwanted tag, the Chocolate Soldiers. In 85, you make the finals for the first time. And a bloke had a lot to do with that too, was Greg Alexander, the emergence of Brandy. What was Greg Alexander like as a young player?
He's pretty quiet initially. Another story. Running 400s again. We seem to be doing a lot of those in those days. He ran the first one and won by 40 metres, you know, beat everybody. And the second one he was back in the pack, third one he was back in the pack. And I said to him, something wrong, you know? And he said, why? And I said, oh, well, you're winning him and then you're back here. He said, oh, I didn't want to embarrass him. Royce to stand there, embarrass us, just embarrass us. He won the next, no matter how many we ran, he was so far in front, wasn't running. But no, superb athlete. And then later on he got a bit cheeky and a bit wild. I know he went sliding down. They went out for the drink in Sydney with Simmons, who was leading them and always did. Yeah, there's escalators down to one of the subways. He jumped on the middle of it, didn't he? And off he went.
Oh, wow.
And then he lost it. He couldn't get off. Out, hit bang on his tail, and he was crook for the next week and hid it from me. Simmons said, don't worry, don't tell Sheensy, blah, blah, blah. So there was a bit of wildness in him as he grew up in that regard, but yeah, excellent player. I mean, Lenny Stacker said to me, he'd been a coach for, through the late 70s and said to me, Tim, he was working for me and he said, Tim, what's the difference between the side I coached and the side you're coaching? After we just won 6 in a row in 84. And I said, Greg Alexander, mate.
Now, timing, Tim, is everything. You go to the Raiders in 88, I'm just having a look at... They've got some pretty good players coming through simultaneously. Brad Clyde, Ricky Stewart, Laurie Daly and Glenn Lazarus. Yeah. And on top of that, you got Belcher, Meninga, Chicka Ferguson, Steve Walters, Gary Coyne, so on. Did you go in there in 88 and look at this side and go, I reckon we can dominate for a decade? Did you have that thought?
No.
Because that's what you go and do.
No, I don't think anyone could do that. I knew there was a good side there. And I obviously knew about Mal and different players. Laurie Daly and Bradley Clyde I'd chased, actually. Most of the clubs knew about them as youngsters. But Don had done a great job. Donnie was a great recruiter. He'd recruited all those guys, put them on contracts as juniors. And, of course, Laurie, technically Riverina is a catchment area, although it used to be with the Mortimers. They all went to Sydney. But as soon as Canberra started to do something, everyone from Riverina wanted to stay in Canberra because Mum and Dad could come and watch the game, you know. Anyway, so I knew I had a good side, but I had something to compete against because everyone expected you to win it then in 88. And I still say 88 was probably one of the best sides I coached. Bacco and Lazarus in the front row were dynamic, really dynamic, you know. And then Ricky came along in 88 and John McIntyre signed him, no salary cap, of course. And I said, why did we sign another upback? I said, you got Chris O'Sullivan, Ivan Henjak, Kevin Walters, Peter Jackson as a 5'8", Laurie Daly as a 5'8". Why did you sign him? He said, oh, he's strong enough to play lock, says John, you know. So, I can tell you a story, I'll tell you off air about it, that one.
Do you, Tim, do you get emotional when you think of the 89 grand final?
Mate, I've looked at it that many times, I don't think so.
I've heard the story where Mal, because you blokes are pretty heavy underdogs, he goes to the coin toss and their captain, Wayne Pearce, really nervous. Yeah, well... were you aware of that?
Mal made me aware, yeah. Committee said they're nervous as hell. Junior's nervous. But I don't know whether Junior would agree to that, but anyway, but Mal seemed to think so, yeah. But, and that's because the expectation, I suppose, was definitely on Balmain. You know, the boys tell the story about the grand final breakfast. They named every Balmain player by name as they came in. When the Raiders came in their jumpers with their tie and their jumper, you know, no blazer, no nothing. You know, we walked in and there, and Steve Wallace tells it better than I ever could. There's Mal Meninga and Gary Belcher and so on. Then there's the rest of them.
The big fella.
The rest of them. Your commentator only knew the first few. And the boys really rocked up on that. They weren't happy about that either.
That last 20 minutes, Tim, like, Benny hitting the field goal.
Freeman, Elias, another shot at goal. Hits the upright, bounces back out of Freeman's hands.
Backwards and forwards, Mal's ankle tap on McNeil, then
even on that ankle tap, people forget, Mal knocked him down. He could have gone up again. Steve Walters come over and cleaned him up.
They are not concerned about life and limb. Neil! Ankle tap brilliantly by Meninga. That saved a try.
Mal tapped him and he fell over. But before he got up, he was only a metre away from the goal line. Before he could have got up and did that, Steve Walters covered from the inside. Right? Like he'd played the full game hooker and dived on him, otherwise it would have been a try.
5 tackles gone for the Raiders. They'll bomb. O'Sullivan's bombed across the goal mouth. Up they go for it. Who's taken it? It's loose. Picked up by Daly. Daly's given it to Ferguson. Ferguson goes for the line. It's gone. Oh, can you believe this? Chicka Ferguson has scored alongside the post.
When Chicka scores, it's about to go to extra time. Were you able to get to the team before the start of extra time?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. All I said to him was kick, and keep kicking, Rick. You know, we needed to kick early, keep them away. No one was going to run 100 metres at that stage. They were all gone, you know. And so it was just, he could kick that leather ball as far as anyone, left or right-footed. So, and many a time he bounced it out and gave us time to walk up to the play. We killed the ball regularly. And I don't know how he did it, because he kicked it off the right and it bounced out that way, and he kicked it off his right and it bounced it out that way. And he knew what he was doing. He knew how to do it. So that was his rugby skills coming through.
So the game's on the line in extra time, and boys are out on their feet. Experienced players here, there, and even the experienced players are struggling. Suddenly, mate, you throw on a young player who's highly inexperienced, hasn't been exposed to any kind of pressure anywhere near this in Steve Jackson, and scores that incredible try. What made you put him on at that point, Tim?
Jacko, well, we needed a front row. We needed to replace, that was where we really, because in those days they'd played a full game, Lozo and Toddy. And I put him on because there wasn't long to go, and he had power. He was a really powerful running player, and I'd used him a few times during the year. And he had genuine hit. He could knock you down, but he could also run the ball and make ground. I didn't expect him to run 20 metres carrying 4 players, but at the end of the day, his job was, because he carried speed for a big man, and I'm a big believer in speed for position. So you work hard at. That's why he was on the bench. Grand final heroes.
You do go back to back, amazing achievement. 89 into 90.
Yeah.
Full time in 90 to go back to back. How was the feeling? Was it as good as in 89, or is it more relief? What?
Yeah, more relief. Yeah, we were underdogs in 89, and in 90 it was the point of focus was right on top of us. And then playing the old club, of course. There were so many players there that I'd left. As you do, you leave a legacy and you pick up a legacy. I'd picked up a great legacy and I'd left, I thought, a very good legacy there. And yeah, it was sort of a strange feeling later.
That next year, amazingly, you make the grand final again. But in my memory, you're hanging by a thread injury-wise, and you get beat by Penrith. How did it feel to be beaten a grand final by a team that you had such great affection for?
Yeah. Interesting. The year before 90, I went round. They were all sitting on the ground, as you usually find the losers, don't you? They all just collapse on the ground. I went round, spoke to as many of them as I could. And then in 90, they came home, 91, they come and saw me. Now, there was no gloating about it. You know what it's like. You know, you get into a grand final, you win, it's absolutely brilliant. You lose, it's shattering. But in saying that, you know, there was, if we were going to lose the three-peat, you know, to my old club, I suppose, was some was some consolation to me deep down, although I'm a winner by trade. But I didn't throw me medal away like Royce did in 90. Silver medal. He didn't want it.
92, difficult year. You had a lot of blokes retiring.
Yeah.
You have to shell players.
Yeah.
Lose some iconic players.
Yeah.
And you've got to rebuild. You're an innovator, Tim. So what you do is you go to New Zealand to rebuild the side, but you do something that no one has done before, go to the Pacific Islands. So you get Lake, Quentin Ponga, Johnny Lomax, Ruben Wiki, but no one Andruku. A winger who playing Fijian rugby is almost 30. Where did you hear of Noah and how did you sign him?
A friend of mine who was working over there in Fiji had tipped me to him. And so Dean Lance and I went down to the Pacific Cup and we go to the different games because they're all being played around the islands at the same time. And he'd tick on his program, what he saw, and then give me that program, and I'd be working. I'd go and give him mine. And so we're cross-referencing with one another. And we were just finding guys left, right and centre. You know, it was unbelievable how much... There was no one down there, no clubs down there, no managers down there, nothing. Well, there were very few managers anyway in those days. And Noah came over for match payments and board.
Wow.
Now, we didn't have the money anyway because of the salary cap issue. We had a fabulous side, and you were never going to fit them all into a 1.2 million salary cap. Yeah, that's where it was.
Won't get you at halfback these days.
That's right.
Of all the sides, and I talk to people about this all the time, they say, who's the best player you've ever played against? So that's hard, but I tell you the best team I ever played against, that was the 94 Raiders. That was truly an awful experience playing you blokes, particularly in Canberra, because when you played the Broncos, Tim, it was like they'd let you play football and they beat you 30-20, 28-24. But you blokes, you had the feeling when you got out there that you were trying to beat us 60-0 and you were brilliant with the ball, but you just bashed the crap out of us as well.
Well, we did have some forwards that people didn't rate and eventually turned into something special. Johnny Lomax and Quinton just turned us around too. They were just so competitive, and Ruben in his own way was too. You know, he was very shy about when he first came into the thing, but he was just aggressive on the field. And Noah was the same. They, lovely blokes off the field and then cross that line, and they became warriors, and in the true sense. Yeah, they wanted to beat you to a pulp.
Incredible decade there, Tim. And you could have won another couple of grand finals, like 93. Ricky has that horrific break. He does his ACL in 95. But you leave the club, the Cowboys. Why'd you go to the Cowboys?
Well, Super League was in. I'd done everything at the Raiders that I think I could. I've been there 9 years. And Super League were keen to sort of spread the talent around a bit. Plus, my wife at the time was from Townsville. She wanted to go home. So there was a number of reasons. And so the Cowboys came knocking, so I took it,
Tough couple of years, Tim.
It was, mate. I mean, Super League, of course, was tough. It split the 22 teams in the country. And we were isolated. Super League also put boundaries on every club. You couldn't recruit out of anyone else's boundary. So there were more kangaroos than football players in north of Rockhampton. And Broncos had to Rockhampton. It was a pretty good gig, from where they stood. But so we really had to develop our own. And Matty Bowens and Paul Bowmans and those guys all came out of that system. So you got achievements in wins, but you also get achievement as coaches in producing and identifying players. And we had to do it the long way. But I see success from my point of view. There was a number of players that played State of Origin from me up there and developed into first graders, and also the fact that they're still there.
Well, but from 84 in state coaching, you've been right at the coalface. And 2001, you take a spell. So towards the end of 2002, of course, mate, West Tigers were a problematic joint venture during a couple of really tough seasons. When they came and approached you to coach, was there any hesitation?
No, not really, because there's a limited number of jobs in the NRL, and every club to me is a club that you would take. Any coach, you ask any coach at the moment if they're asked to coach a first grade NRL club, would you take it? Of course you do. And then Benny Elias rang me up and said, would you be... I thought it was a G-up with Benny. So I go down. Craig Bellamy had done me a favour too. He knocked him back. So it's funny how you go back to the coaches. One recommends me. The other one says, yeah, you can have a Sheensy. I can go on to Melbourne.
So one thing synonymous with your successful teams, Tim, is you got simultaneously there's some great young players coming through. No different at the Tigers. Great crop. Tell me about the first time you saw Benji Marshall.
When I first see him training, like he left everyone for dead, a bit like Greg. Just no one could keep up with him. Everything he did was full of enthusiasm, a bit of stupidity in him, Lair, big time. His first signature was, his first autograph was, and then a crown on top. Right? And Mark O'Neill went, come here, you're not doing that. So the senior blokes pulled him into gear really well. But yeah, just exuberant, and I didn't want to change that. In real terms, same with Robbie and players like that. You need to work around them a bit, but you got to still pull them up every now and then, particularly when they get a bit full of themselves, or try to get a little bit too fancy. I was going to play him fullback initially, and he would have been the perfect fullback, given his speed and ability. But we needed a 5'8". He wanted to play 5'8", and then we picked up Brett Hodgson, so that's how it finished.
I reckon one thing about coaching these days, Tim, in a lot of clubs, there's not very much coaching going on because it's so reactive. Sides can be, there's a lot of pressure on the coaches. But talking to Benji and Robbie and those guys, they said what you did from day one, you played the long game, huge onus, short passing, skill, but just fundamentals of the game, of which you cop some big losses teaching that along the way, but then suddenly, out of nowhere, it happens. At any point did you think about losing your nerve and changing course? No. We had to play. As a coach, you play with what you've got. Now, at Canberra, I had a back line and a no-name pack of forwards, so we played to our back line. Here we had a smallish side. We had a very, very intelligent spine with Prince. Once I put Princey and Hodjo in there with Robbie and Benj, everything was about skill. Catch and pass, pitch, not lob, round the corner, flick occasionally, not in grand finals, but flick occasionally. But, we played a game where our hands were good. We had bad hand drills all the time. I did it at the Raiders as well, but particularly with the Tigers. Short side, play short side. If you can play short side, you can play. The Paddy Richards try, which was the iconic moment, when Benji threw that reverse flick, did you see that live? Like, did you pick that up live that it went that way?
Hodgson taken by Norton. He took him late. Marshall skips away. Marshall's still going. Marshall's got Richards coming up outside. Now inside. Richards pursued. He pushes Jensen away. Pat Richards has scored.
It's not the right way to do it either, because he did it against Paddy. Paddy didn't see it coming. It hit him right there. Because if you're going to flick, you like to flick that way, but to flick around your back when the player can't always see what's happening. Because Benj would often do that and pull it back. Was fortunate in many ways. Paddy caught it there, and with Benj you had to expect the unexpected. But I saw it, I went, go Paddy.
If Paddy had dropped the ball, what's the conversation with Marshall at half-time?
Well, I wouldn't have been hard on him because, it's just to pass one play. One play.
How do you compare 89, you said it's a blur, but 89 to 2005, the feeling?
Yeah, one it was against the Cowboys who'd sacked me a few years earlier, so that aside, that didn't have anything to do with it. But it laid a really good, strong base for the club. People wanted to come and play for us, whereas started at the club, we were voted in Rugby League Week as the club less likely to want a player to go to sign. All the players said, which club would you be least likely to go to? And they said West Tigers in that poll that they have at the end of the year. So that wasn't a good sign for us either. So we had to work hard to get to where we did. And they worked hard and they got a good result.
I think one thing about Premiership winning sides is you can see the players are enjoying themselves. No matter how professional it is, that's still, I think, it's the
Very
best.
much so.
Were they as enjoyable to coach?
Yes. Yeah, they were. Yeah. Yeah, there was a sprinkling of young guys, but there was a lot of good, solid veterans who were 100%, looking forward to try and get a ring, which they all owe me, but I owe them, as they tell me, that they didn't think they'd ever get a chance to do.
I think probably alongside Wayne Bennett, you've coached. I think we have a look at the vastness of great players you've coached. It's you and a great attacking
I know
players.
what you're going to ask me. Yeah. Who's the favourite one?
That's what I'm going to ask you.
Mate, how do you say that? I've had 1,000 kids. How do you say it? On any given day, there's always one. You've always got the soft. They always used to say I had favourites like Hetherington was my son, or Fitzy was my son, or Luke Lewis was my son in the Test match, because I always pick him.
Who's the biggest pain in the arse you ever coached?
Ricky Stewart on the grog. If you weren't careful, a glass would come sailing over with ice in it, or the ice would come over without the glass. You'd be lucky. I don't know, mate. I think there's still a bit of larrikinism in everyone. You've got to have it in them. Hell, to me, personality is important. To say, I want everyone to do what I think, or everyone to be exactly the same as me, or this is the perfect seven. The game has tall ones, short ones, slow ones, fat ones, clever ones, not so clever, but there's in every position, and that's the great thing about our game. Yeah.
Finally, Tim, we spoke before about tactically things doing the full circle. Here you are again, 20 years since you walked in here last time. Yeah. And, mate, I hope you have the same success again, albeit in a different role, but I think there's a lot of people, cheering for the Tigers. They're a club that people love, and people get a lot of affection for you as well, mate.
Thanks, mate. I appreciate that. As I said, my role is behind the desk, not flying the jet, and but I'm calling, I'm helping Madge as much as I can to do what he needs to do and to have a successful club. It was good to come back, so I'm enjoying my footy again.
Great to catch up again.
Cheers.
Sheens. Good luck, mate, for the season.
Thanks.
This has been a Fox Sports production.